Hello, welcome back to Learning Curves. I'm Anastasia, and today I want to talk about therapy, as in mental health therapy, as in going and talking to a counselor, a social worker, a psychologist. I think there are a lot of stigmas about therapy, and I think that a lot of people think it's a bigger deal than it is, and I think a lot of people think it's not as important as it is, and I want to talk about some of those things. So let's just get going. I have been seeing my therapist for about a year and a half now, a little over a year and a half now. I think a lot of people think that if you see a therapist, that means you're admitting that there's something wrong with you, which I think everyone can be better. I think we can all be better. I think there isn't a perfect person. So, in some ways, I guess I agree with that. But more so, I think it just means that we're willing to work on ourselves. Yeah, there are just so many people who, when I mention that I'm going to therapy, every Tuesday from 3 to 4 is when I see a therapist. So I leave work or stop work early in an effort to normalize it. I just say it, and there are so many people who, when I'll say, "Oh, I've got therapy," then, "Oh, I've gone to therapy too." Like, it's okay. Like, I know it's okay. you know, there are people who go to the gym at lunch and it's like I went to the gym at lunch. And I feel that way about therapy. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go take care of my brain. I'm going to go take care of myself. So, the comparison I like to make for therapy is to going to the gym. Going to the gym doesn't mean you're out of shape. The Rock goes to the gym a lot. Arnold Schwarzenegger goes to the gym a lot. I think it's the same with mental health. I think that you can be a generally mentally healthy person, but still know that you have room for improvement because we all do. Continuing with the metaphor, it's uncomfortable. You have to push yourself, but you can go at your own pace. You don't have to go to the gym and do a high intensity interval training workout. You can go to the gym and walk on the treadmill. My therapist made it very clear. She said with her own therapist, there are things that she may never talk about, but there are things that she definitely isn't ready to talk about yet. And it's the same for me. I can decide what questions I want to answer or not, and I can decide which things I want to share or not share and when I want to share them or not share them. But I do think that the more you're willing to put in, the more you can get out. Just like the gym. The more it hurts, the faster and larger effects you'll see. I feel like you could learn a lot about a person by which type of pain do you want? Do you want gym pain or do you want therapy pain? There are actually a couple therapists that I follow on Instagram that I'll link in the description box below. But one of them was listing out reasons that people go to therapy, and a lot of us go to therapy because of other people who won't go to therapy. Hurt people hurt people. And there are a lot of us who are hurt people who are walking around doing a lot of damage, hurting other people. I'm not sure if I've said it yet on this channel, but I feel like the first thing you learn about something is how much you have to learn about something. So I think there are a lot of us who think, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't need to work on my mental health." But once you start peeling the layers back, you start to see, there's a lot here. It's one of those things where you don't see it until you see it. A lot of us have defense mechanisms or learned behaviors because it's how we coped as children that we think are just what you do, but we don't realize it's just what we do individually. And some of those things can be really harmful to other people, or at the very least, can be hard to understand for other people. And I think having a better understanding of ourselves can really help better all of our relationships. Oh, there's something I pinned on Pinterest. What is the quote? It's like, once you start to realize that another person's reaction to you says more about them than it does about you, eventually you cease to react at all, because our reactions say a lot about who we are. And I think there are a lot of people who get really angry at other people and don't realize how much we can take responsibility for that anger individually. I don't know what you'll think of the story, but I'm just going to share it. I had a work situation a while ago where I was used to being the resource, not used to having resources. And I was in a position where I had a resource, and she just kept asking me to do things. I felt like she was putting me in a position where I had to say, "No, I'm not going to be helpful to you because you need to better manage your time so that you can handle these responsibilities. It made me feel uncomfortable. Eventually, I realized it's not on her, that's on me. That's on me to better be able to handle that situation. I can't control her and how she's going to do or not do her position. I can just control myself and how I'm going to react to that. And it was kind of empowering. I mean, it was also like, fine, I have to learn how should I respond in those situations. And yeah, it put the ball back in my court. I don't think I had that epiphany in a therapy session, but I'm certain that because of my own growth from my therapy sessions, that's what helped me to come to that conclusion or realization or aha. Therapy must be different for everyone. It must be. But for me, it's a place where I can go, where I can talk about anything and leave feeling at least no worse than I did, but knowing a little more about myself and often having more tools to deal with whatever it is. You know, I mean, as we've been going through having a lot of work to do from our actual jobs, but also having our home renovation and this pregnancy and YouTube and juggling a lot of things, sometimes my therapist just gives me practical advice. Like, I think maybe you should divvy out some of these responsibilities. Ask your friends and family what they can help do. But sometimes it's talking through arguments with my husband and learning about what those frustrations mean about me and how I feel about myself. Not every appointment is, me crying my eyes out. I don't cry in some appointments. But, some appointments we just kind of talk about stuff and it feels like, oh, okay, well, bye. See you next week. We've been doing telehealth, by the way, for the last not sure how many months, long time. So especially right now, because 2020 sucks and because social distancing is hard and elections are hard. It's just all hard. There's so many hard things going on. And, I think especially right now, we could really all use some extra mental health care. So I encourage you to seek someone out, especially because right now so many people are doing telehealth and you could find someone who fits within your budget and your schedule and who you mesh with and get to talking, get to taking care of you, get yourself to the brain gym. I highly recommend that you don't necessarily settle on the first therapist you go see. I found a therapist that uses my insurance and we work really well together, I think. But I've gone to therapists where it's clear that this is not a match. I had one in Los Angeles. I was having a lot of big life changes, kind of like right now. And I wanted to work through some of those. This therapist that I saw, she meant to kind of challenge me on a couple of things. Instead of feeling like, oh, that's interesting, have you considered this? It felt like, well, that sounds more like this to me. And I didn't like it. I got defensive, and it's got to be tricky being a therapist because that space has to feel so safe for us. And I know people who want very different things out of a therapist than I do. I know a woman who sees a therapist who her therapist will call her on stuff like that. She will, she'll shut her down. I would not like that. I would not like to be sharing something candidly with a therapist and have them be like, nope, I call BS. I would not like that. As I mentioned in my Honesty and Consequences video, I need a gentle, soft pillow in those safe spaces. So I need more of a, have you considered maybe this? Or I wonder about this. That's what my therapist does for me. She's much gentler than, but there are different approaches out there. So I encourage you to seek out someone that feels like a fit for you. I actually, when I was reaching out to my therapist to start seeing someone, I said, there are some things that I haven't dealt with myself that I want to deal with before they start affecting how I parent and how I am around my daughter. I don't want my own dysfunctions or my own learned trauma responses to be passed on to my daughter. I want to be better for her. I'm proud of some of the growth that I've made, and I'm excited to keep on that journey and doing the same for this little lady. I don't know, it's hard to talk about therapy in general, one, because I'm not a therapist, but also because I don't know what your things are that you'd want to talk about in therapy. Maybe you don't know what your things are. I don't think there's anyone who has not been to therapy who doesn't need therapy. In fact, I think the people who think they don't need it are the people who need it the most for themselves and for the rest of us. Because again, hurt people, and we're just going around hurting each other willy-nilly. And I think if we had more hours clocked in therapy, we would feel better about ourselves and we'd be better to each other. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like this video and please consider subscribing. I'll see you next time. Bye!